We're gonna play.
Thank you. Welcome to Geek News Reviews, the Dark Knight Trilogy. My name is Jay, joined as always by Mike, Phillip, Mike, Dan, and Chris. Today we are going to review the Dark Knight Trilogy. We decided to do this as a whole because whether you like the ending or not, it is essentially one storyline. So I'm going to start off by summarizing Batman Begins, and then Max is going to do Dark Knight, and then Philip's going to do Dark Knight Rises. Begins starts off Bruce Wayne witnessing his family killed. Then, after failing to kill the man who killed his parents, he flees, where he meets Ra's al Ghul. He's trained by the League of Shadows. Their temple is destroyed, prompting Bruce to return to Gotham. Um, he realizes that the psychiatrist is also involved with everything that's going on, and then he comes to learn that it's also Ra's al Ghul and the League of Shadows are the ones masterminding everything that's going on in Gotham. That's pretty much the summary of that movie. Max.
Wow, you remember my name? That's great. Yeah, no. So the Dark Knight is the first Batman movie to actually not have the name Batman in it. It's about the Joker and Two-Face are the villains in that one. Batman has been operating for a little bit now. He's kind of got his feet under him. He's got a system, and he's worked most of the organized crime out of Gotham or backed him into a serious corner. And then you follow as the Joker kind of introduces himself and gets about some mischief and mayhem. Two-Face comes in a little later, and Batman and all that battle it out. It's mostly about. I think this one's more about community and like what people do in the face of fear is kind of the general tone or theme of the movie. Of course, we have Heath Ledger playing the Joker. Tragically died after this one. But yeah, that's pretty much the Dark Knight.
Oh,
All right, so The Dark Knight Rises, 8 years after the events of The Dark Knight, and everything seems to be great and peaceful, mostly due to the fall of Harvey Dent and Batman taking the blame and disappearing. And this has allowed other things to pass, and so organized crime is almost non-existent. The cops seem extremely happy. Everything seems very, very, very positive, at least in the first 15 minutes or so. Then, of course, before all this, you get introduced to Bane. You don't really understand what he's going to have anything to do with it, but then shortly after, he starts appearing in the city, starting to commit random crimes, at least on the initial periphery. You're not really sure who Selina Kyle is, and so they're kind of introducing all these other characters and kind of slowly building up to a climax. And so you're truly trying to figure out what is his end goal. You eventually find out he actually is working or worked for the League of Shadows. They hint at that. And what happens is, after all this, Batman's been away trying to keep everything happy. And once Bane actually reveals himself, he's forced to get reintroduced into crime fighting again. And this is actually what causes him to get into a fight with Bane. His back is broken and seemingly to disappear again, from at least the city's perspective, because he gets sent away to a prison for a while. During that time, while Batman's away, Bane forces him to actually watch him take over his city, which actually is really an awesome scene as he actually initiates that. And during that time, basically they create the nuclear bomb that they've had in the background. I mean, there is a lot of little details that I'm trying to summarize here. But what happens is, at the end of the movie, basically, within the 5 months so that this bomb's supposed to explode, he breaks his back and he magically reappears for the great climax.
awesome. Dan, why don't you go first and give us your thoughts?
On this trilogy, I'm kind of meh about it. It's got its good parts, but my problem with Nolan directing these is that he wanted so bad to make it like this new, gritty, realistic version. And when you do that, I think you take away from the characters. In the older versions, they kept it at least kind of the comic book Gotham, And I'm only talking the first two because the rest I did not like.
Oh no, the rest were definitely comic book Gotham for sure.
Oh yeah, but that was the wrong kind of comic book Gotham. You can still keep it dark, but keep it comic booky. Instead of making it, realistic, and you have Batman with the magical, car opening can opener thing. I mean, I would have rather had a cooler looking, Batmobile. Would have rather had the actual Batwing instead of some weird looking military stealth machine. The action scenes I didn't like. Most of them are filmed in really close up, so it's hard to tell what's going on, especially in the first movie. As it moves on, it gets slightly better. But when you've got ninjas, I want ninjas doing things. I don't want to see a ninja jump, see a close up of a foot, and then see a ninja fly away, and that's your action scene. Uh, as far as it goes into the last one, the whole we're gonna skip 3 months and and shoot him into Gotham again just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't know. It just had continuity errors galore in that one. I don't know. I could keep going if you like me to.
Overall, what would you say out of 10?
I don't know. I'd give it a 6.
What?
I mean, it started on a high note. I think, except for the whole we're going to take all the water out of people and turn them into weird husk plans, which was kind of strange. But then it goes up for the second one, and then it goes way down for the third. I don't like the military Bane guy. I really wanted to see him, pumping up into a giant, monster, and you just didn't get that. It's like we're going to keep it realistic. Turns into we're going to make it more boring than the comics. I mean, if they're going to do the whole Breaking Back thing, I want to see Nightfall. Like the whole thing. I don't know. I'll probably jump back in later, but it's just a giant mishmash of stuff I've got.
Mike, your thoughts?
Well, overall, I mean, I enjoy the trilogy just fine. Uh, without, it's kind of hard to single out one particular movie out of all of. I mean, Dark Knight is a great Joker movie for me. Batman Begins, I feel, is a better Batman movie for me, and each has like some good moments. Dark Knight Rises is kind of just average for me. It's give or take, but there's some cool stuff that I enjoy. Like in Batman Begins, the first time he actually goes out as Batman, like that's actually kind of scary. That's the first time I've ever been scared for a superhero showing up. So, I mean, that's effective, and I really enjoyed the atmosphere that was presented in that sense. I like the flashback sequences in Batman Begins way better than in Man of Steel because at least the flashback sequences in Begins have context. Like, he's not just flashing back randomly to being run over or off a school bridge or whatever, like he was in Man of Steel. I don't know. Dark Knight, you can poke some holes into the logic and convenience of that film. The Joker is extremely organized for a guy who believes in total chaos and anarchy. Like, to the point where he has to know exactly where people are at what time and where they're standing, like, specifically in order for things to work. So I'm like, that's really convenient storytelling, but whatever. It's the Joker. At least he's got a crazy enough personality. I'll buy it. But then Dark Knight Rises shows up, and a whole lot of conveniences and plot holes start looming large in the movie. So, I don't know. The first two I really enjoy. The last one is fun enough, but it's just very uneven.
Yeah, the first two are standalone. You can watch them. You don't have to watch the other ones. The third one is very much so not standalone. Like you have to know the story of the first movie. You kind of have to know the story of the second movie. Whereas Batman Begins and Dark Knight, you can watch those whenever you want. See, for me, I'm the complete opposite. While yes, Dark Knight Rises does have a few plot holes. I acknowledge that.
A few plot holes.
Hold on, but it is Begins is my least favorite of the three. For some reason, it's kind of like what you guys said last week when we were watching American Psycho, Mike and Dan, where it kind of feels like a chore to watch American Psycho. I feel like with Begins, because there's a lot of plot and substance, that sometimes it seems long. That's one of my issues with the movie. Dark Knight is obviously the best one of the three, in my opinion. That's easily a 10 out of 10 movie, from acting to story to cinematography. Across the board, it is fantastic. But yeah, no, with Rises, I really like Tom Hardy's character. I like his acting for that character. Like he's not playing Bane. I mean, I acknowledge that he is playing a different character that just has the same name, but he does such a good job at portraying the emotion through his eyes. And maybe that is one of the reasons I do like that movie and can forgive a lot, is because his performance as Bane it's just really good. It comes across really well. Like I said, through the emotionality of his eyes. And it's just something you don't see that an actor can do very often, where you take everything away from him, but he's still making you feel for him just by facial expressions. It's crazy. But Chris, what are your thoughts on the Dark Knight trilogy?
It almost seems like if you watch them now, that the Dark Knight was the movie, and then they had a weird prequel, and then they had a really bad finish, and like they never intended to make the other two. But obviously, having experienced them in their original sequence, they weren't ever intended to be that way. So it's kind of weird, but yeah, it's really hard for me to watch Batman Begins because there's just like it's not as much Batman to me as the other two, and then Dark Knight Rises is just kind of this, like, they wanted to have it be kind of a mystery, like a murder mystery, but then the murder mystery of who is Bane and how is he related to this stuff also wasn't very substantive. So like it didn't. It's not like there's a movie recently where we were talking about it, and it's like, well, this was a really good spy movie, and it would have been a really good James Bond movie if it was that. Captain America 2. Right? It was a good spy movie that happened to have Captain America in it. I feel like there wasn't, an awesome story that happened to have Batman in it. And then trying to make every single piece of Batman's armory this plausible science experiment from downstairs. Just, like, I mean, either they're paying to research things that they have no business sinking money into, or the military has gotten really weird in this alternative future.
It's funny that you feel that Batman is not in Begins very much, because I believe he's in Begins for 35 minutes, but in Rises he's in the movie for like 22. Like, there is hardly any Batman in Rises at all. There's like that one sequence on the bridge and then the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And the fight with Bane, which is over and done quickly. But Rises is also like a 30-minute longer movie. To me, it doesn't feel like it is. So, but Phillip, I'm gonna save Max and his, because I want to hear. I've heard some of this because we were at Comic-Con a few years ago and they held a panel and they discussed the things wrong with Rises. So I've heard some of Max's insight, and it's not just him ranting and raving and cussing. He's actually got some well thought out reasons why he didn't like the third movie. And
I know it's hard to believe that I have anything well thought out, but it's true.
But yeah, and some of it I agree with. Like I'll just do it real quick. I feel like in the third movie, maybe a Harley Quinn would have made more sense following the Joker storyline, but we'll wait till we get to Max and let him express some of his opinions. Phillip.
Overall, I enjoy the trilogy. Again, it's going to sound like a broken record. The second one is my favorite, of course. For me, the first and the third are about the same. The first one, what I appreciate about it is the setup time after he became Batman. that I actually thought was interesting because that was the first time you ever really truly get that, like Mike was saying, that scary feeling for Batman, which is what ideally he should be to criminals. And you actually get that across, and I really enjoyed that. As far as the third one goes, I actually enjoy it overall, but I actually agree with almost everyone. It doesn't feel like a Batman movie. It feels like I almost think they could get away without it being Batman, but that would be a bit of a challenge to kind of explain away all the stuff that they're referring back to in the other two movies. But because what's interesting about it, like, I'm not a big comic book person, so I can accept Bane for what they've made him into. I do remember, and from the animated series and from the god awful movie that they made with Bane in it, what he's ideally supposed to be. And what was interesting is, I agree with everyone that they made him realistic, but if you actually remember the second fight scene between Batman and Bane, and he actually punctures the front of his mask, he actually becomes superhuman at this point, if you actually pay any attention, because he starts punching concrete and breaking concrete. Like, breaking, like, with his fist. And his knuckles not bloody, hands not smashed.
They can't show blood. That's why. They don't show any blood at all.
I never thought about that. But, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, you're right, because a bunch of people get shot and nothing happens. I didn't even think about that. Well, I guess that's a slight flaw. But let's see. So, like, for me, there were some cool set pieces. I mean, overall, throughout the whole series, well, the first one doesn't have a great set pieces. The second one has awesome set pieces between Joker and Batman and the duality. Like, I love the scene, especially in the second one, where Joker basically has given these two ships the ability to blow each other up just to see what would happen. And I just love the drama and the tension they build up in that, and the discussion that they're having of what should we do, and the fact that Batman, all the while Batman and Joker are having this conversation about the, like, duality of people. I mean, I thought that was kind of cool how they actually tied that in. But definitely it's a more realistic version. I actually enjoy these a little bit more than the Kevin Costner ones, but I think that's more just because they made it too cartoonish for me.
Michael Keaton? Or
it wasn't Michael. Yeah. Michael Keaton.
Kevin Costner.
Who we're talking about here?
Yeah, Michael Keaton.
Seems I missed something. I gotta see those.
Yeah, those are the Joel Schumacher that they didn't get any money for. Yeah, the Michael Keaton ones. And that's mostly just because I didn't really appreciate the Jack Nicholson Joker. It was too much Jack Nicholson, not enough not Jack Nicholson. At least in the sequel, I could appreciate that more. But going back to these, like, I at least appreciated Dark Knight Rises for what it was. Overall, I would say the series for me was so the second one I would say is like a 9 to a 10, depending on my mood. I really enjoy that one. First one's like a 6 or a 7, and the sequel, the third one's like a 6 or a 7. So I mean, overall, about probably 7.5 for the overall trilogy, because it's definitely enjoyable. It's a good first watch for somebody to kind of introduce them to Batman. I think it's a little bit easier to swallow if you're not heavily into it. Whereas the Michael Keaton ones, or if I even go back to like the 60s Batman, most people aren't going to really respect that TV show too much. I mean, it's a fun thing to watch, but it's like, well, why do I want to continue to watch this? And I think so for me, I mean, the one, if I can get people to look past the animated version, I would actually rather show them the TV show.
Max, here you go, buddy.
All right. Well, Batman Begins. It was, how long had it been since it was 96 or 98 that Batman and Robin came out?
I think it was in 97, and then after they made Batman and Robin, Clooney was supposed to return for a movie called Batman. I'm trying to remember the title. He was supposed to return as Batman. Like, they had a script and they were gonna do it, and they were talking to Jack Nicholson about coming back as the Joker and like some kind of dream sequence. I read about this when I was reading about Batman Begins and like all the steps it took to reach that point. Yeah, I think it was 97.
All right, so 97. I just got confirmation on that. 97. Thank you, Philip. And then it was what 2000. I can't even remember the date. So 2000 and whatever when Batman Begins comes out. So it's a long time between Batman movies, and when this came out, it's sort of like the Star Wars situation where you're just like so thirsty for a Batman movie that whatever they put out was gonna sell. Like it didn't matter. But so Batman Begins comes out. It had a little bit of issues, but it was the first attempt at a real earnest Batman in an actual real life situation. Like okay, if a guy is a billionaire, then like of course they get kind of ridiculous with the ninjas, and so I think Batman Begins and the Dark Knight Rises are both the hokiest just because they deal with these crazy, like world forces, this whole secret cabal of ninjas, and it's so absolutely absurd that you kind of have to like you suspend your disbelief, and you're just like, okay, whatever, I'll just go with it. So there's ninjas, so there's an army of ninjas that can attack a city at any time, whatever. But so that's why I'd say, I don't like Batman Begins or The Dark Knight Rises because they definitely have the most hokiness for an earnest attempt at Batman, and I think that's half the problem. Why The Dark Knight was the best one is just because the Joker was a guy. He got a bomb, and he was like, all right, I'm gonna kill 100 people, and it wasn't about setting the world in a new direction, and it wasn't about decimating millions of people and ruining hundreds of thousands of lives. He was just like, look, man, I can kill all these people. What can you do about it? And that's what I really liked about it, because Batman is a street level guy. He's just a man. Like he goes on patrol from like when it gets dark to when it gets light. That's all the time he's really in the bat suit. So to kind of give him these bigger global things, kind of like that's the comic bookiness of Batman, and that's what people have a hard time getting their heads around. I thought that when you get in Batman Begins, it was good. I mean, we had some crappiness. There's Katie Holmes there. There's a few plot holes, but it was a lot of fun. And you're like, okay, well, if there was a billionaire and if you could find the secret cabal of ninjas, I guess that this could happen. And then The Dark Knight took it to the next level. They're like, okay, this guy's been fighting crime. He's been spending his money wisely, getting all his toys, putting it together in the basement, talking with his butler, working out the whole system. And, then the crime ups the game. They're like, okay, well, what if, this person doesn't care about getting caught or keeping the money or, any of these things that normal criminals would want or deal with. So like you have to Batman has to change his whole mindset. He kind of has to up his game and find out what he's capable of to catch someone who just doesn't care about what happens. And so, like that's really in tune with Batman. I thought the second movie had the most actual Batman things going on, and then you get to The Dark Knight Rises. And it's like, I mean, they introduce characters and kill them for no reason. They with the whole tragic Heath Ledger thing, they had to stay away from the Joker, and so like they'll throw Cillian Murphy in as Scarecrow, in that scene where he's the judge. That really should have been the Joker. I don't care like what anyone says. That's not the Scarecrow. That's not his style. He's about scaring the crap out of everyone he possibly can, not like, oh, well, like, look at me, I'm having this fun, I'm sitting in judgment of everybody, and, yada, yada, yada. Like, I just thought, like, why didn't they put the Joker in that movie? And there's, like, let's say Talia al Ghul, who they introduced, again, you're like, okay, this is one of the main staple Batman characters if you're a comic book reader. They kill her off, they introduce her as Talia al Ghul, and then kill her maybe 15 minutes later in the movie. And you're just like, well, why did you even introduce her as Talia al Ghul? Like, you don't even need that. So there's that. There's like, okay, so she crashes the truck. She's in the front wearing her seatbelt and crashes the truck. Jim Gordon is in the back with a nuclear bomb, not strapped to anything, flying around. They fall down a whole, story, crash. She dies. He lives. And not only does he live, I think he has maybe a minor limp on his left side. Like that's all they got going on. There's just, and then Batman flying off the bomb, and like they never really established the true genius of Bruce Wayne. And then they're like, oh yeah, well he could just fix the autopilot and he could just do whatever in his spare time. It doesn't matter, because I mean, like in The Dark Knight, they say he spends how much money on research and development for the cell phone thing to develop this thing, so he can catch the Joker. And it wasn't Bruce Wayne that did it. He had the whole R&D department. So you're like, okay, well Bruce Wayne isn't a genius so much as a smart guy who knows how to allocate his funds and his assets. And then you come to find out, oh yeah, well in my spare time I also mess with complicated computer tracking technology and interfaces and all that good stuff, and I can just program whatever. It doesn't really matter. And they do the same thing with Peter Parker in the Spider-Man movies. You don't actually understand. They never give you how smart he is. It's just yeah. So I didn't like the third one just because there's a whole just continuity holes, plot holes. There's no reference to any of the characters. I did like what they did with Bane, but I see where everyone else is coming from. Where he's not growing five times his size and losing control like a rage animal, and they can't really do that in the movie. They tried to keep these movies PG-13, and so like I said before with Phillip, there's no blood at all. So you have all of the cops in Gotham City fighting all these dudes, and all these guys have assault rifles, and they're just spraying into the crowd, and then everyone's like, oh, I got shot, but this is apparently we're in the 1930s and we can't, we're just gonna pretend like we're dead. And if like this dude's got his white gloves on and there's not even any red on the gloves. Like it bothered the crap out of me. I watched what was it? Not Pirates of the Caribbean, but the Lone Ranger. In the Lone Ranger, one man cuts out another man's heart and eats it. And you can't show any blood in the Batman movie? That's all I'm saying. But, yeah, so...
Why did you watch The Lone Ranger?
Oh, I mean, because I heard some dude cut out another dude's heart and ate it.
So I have a question for everybody. Who is your favorite and least favorite, or who's your favorite and most overrated Batman, Max?
My favorite Batman? Oh man, I'm gonna catch a lot of flack for this. It's actually Val Kilmer. I'm not gonna lie. That movie came out at the right time. I was, young enough to watch it 800,000 times, but old enough to appreciate the fun I was having, and so that one stuck with me, even though it is definitely not one of the better Batman movies. But Val Kilmer's my favorite. I just really like the Batman Forever movie. Most overrated? I don't know that there's a most overrated Batman. I mean, I'd probably say Christian Bale, but I'd definitely say Jack Nicholson is the most overrated Joker.
Next question.
Just because I think Dan had said he didn't really do much acting. He kind of just got to have a lot of fun throwing stuff around and being crazy Jack Nicholson, and that one movie was more comic booky, so that allowed for that sort of Joker. But when you put the numbers and you match up the things together, it's he doesn't actually do much acting. It's I think Heath Ledger definitely had to do more as the Joker, just because it was actually trying to emote something. You wanted to kind of you don't want to get in his head, but you want to feel like, okay, this is a crazy person, and we can't fathom the depths of his madness, and I think Heath Ledger pulled that off really well.
Dan, I think you and Max are going to have an agreeing moment. Who is your favorite Batman and your most overrated? And then I guess give us your favorite Joker, too.
I've got the same answers on that one, honestly. Val Kilmer is my favorite Batman. It was a crappy movie. I mean, but he got the role down. I mean, he was a haunted Bruce Wayne, and he was a cool Batman, and that went together really well. Most overrated?
The bat glasses.
Yes.
That's how Bruce Wayne wears glasses sometimes for no reason.
Well, he got that from Superman, you see. Yeah, the most overrated is Christian Bale, mostly because I don't really like Christian Bale, and I hate the Batman voice.
Oh,
I really do.
What do you mean?
It just makes me laugh. It went really well with the Bane voice because, you could. I would love to see them talk more where they like couldn't understand each other. It would have been the greatest thing. My favorite Joker though would have to be Cesar Romero. I think he did a great job just being balls out crazy.
Yeah, gotta love the paint over the mustache. That's great. I'm not shaving.
But that dude was awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'd say, I mean, it's really hard to pick between the two movie Jokers just because they're vastly different. I I'd have to go with Nicholson just because he brought more of the strange kind of zaniness, like I'm a really crazy guy, more than, the Dark Knight's I'm just a really crazy homicidal guy. And that's it for me.
All right. I do want to mention that it was 7 years ago last Thursday that Heath Ledger passed away, so us doing this cast was kind of fitting. I want to respond to something Phillip said in his review that I didn't say. Heath Ledger is my favorite Joker, but you can never... Jack Nicholson can never be two Jack Nicholson. Like, I'll take two Jack Nicholson over any other actor in Hollywood. That is my favorite actor, one of my favorite actors of all time. But, yeah, Heath Ledger is definitely the better of the Jokers. Mike, your opinion on... Yeah, this who's your favorite Batman? Your most overrated Batman, favorite Joker?
Hi, can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, favorite Batman, most overrated Batman, and favorite Joker.
Okay, favorite Batman, favorite Joker. Okay. I don't know. I'd have to split Batman because my favorite Bruce Wayne would have to be Christian Bale. I like when he's just being himself, but also I like the way he tries to play up his playboy antics and pretend he's drunk and things like that. And try to play the part of a spoiled rich kid, just for appearance's sake. So I do like that kind of duality that he tries to do there. It's a little Bateman-ish. With favorite Batman, I'd have to go with Keaton. I actually like Keaton a lot. And from what I gathered, yeah, he doesn't try to go for an overly aggressive, intimidating voice. Like, his voice is just intimidating when he's in the suit and when he's doing stuff. Like, if they just had better fight choreography, or the fight choreography they had today, I could still see him playing that role. Favorite Joker, I'd have to say Mark Hamill in the animated series Joker. I like Ledger a lot, but his was a very unique take on it. There's just that issue of for a guy who claims that you just got to throw organizations and stuff out the window, he's too organized for me to believe that. But Mark Hamill, I love what he did with the voice for that character and and actually kind of making him somewhat sympathetic at times. Until that point, I never really, would invest much in the Joker as a character more than just a loony. But then he actually made him actually funny and gave him some ego problems, and so forth. The Bat is the ultimate challenge and no one can kill him but him. And so I like what they did with that version of the character.
Phillip.
So I'll start off with the Joker because I'm actually pretty much in line with you, Mike. I'm split between Ledger and Hamill. I love Ledger just because, from the movie perspective, it's what I wanted in that Joker. But what I liked about what Hamill did was the fact that he did have that silly zaniness to him. So it balanced out the villainy. And I think the problem is the universe that they had created was too realistic for them to like turn on a dime like that. I mean, I think that would have just been so weird to have Batman straight-laced and then Joker just starts making jokes in front of him. I think that probably would have ruined that movie, actually. But overall, that's probably where I go there. As far as overrated Batman, so this one's probably going to cause some things, but I was never a big fan of Keaton. I just wasn't. Everyone loved him in the role. I was okay. I actually liked Val Kilmer in the role, but I couldn't get into him because of the movie. I think if I rewatched it now as an adult, I probably would actually appreciate him more. But from that perspective, as an adult, I appreciated, even though Bale's depthness wasn't there as Batman, like he had that, I like the Playboy factor, and he did have some hauntedness that I actually appreciated, like especially more in the third one than any of the other ones. Like the first one, you see a little bit of it, where he's complaining about like his parents being gone and all that, but it's not the level of detail that I really would like. But otherwise, that's why for me, it's the best Batman. I mean, I guess I could go Kevin Conroy, but I'd rather see it in a movie than just the animated series, because I really like the animated series, and I like the movies, and I love the voice that he does, and I love the way he's portrayed, but I'd like a live action, and so that's really why I stick with Bale's, because I at least appreciate the movies more overall. And that's probably more where I come from, rather than necessarily the character study itself.
Awesome. Chris.
Yeah, so my favorite Batman is Keaton, but I feel like the best one was Kilmer. Keaton just because, you know, his Batmobile was the Batmobile toy of my childhood, right? And it was the one that, really, like, could just, like, you know, you used your key thing that nobody had back then that everybody has now, and all of a sudden your car was, like, armored against anybody wanting to, like, shiv your tires or anything you want to do. I think the most overrated Batman is Bale, although I think he struck the best balance of the Playboy stuff. But he just has, like, he's just gotten so much stuff, and that voice, man, it just kills me. Like I said, it makes me laugh, just like it does with you guys. I think that the best Joker is Ledger, but that's just because I don't know how much of the Nicholson was Nicholson, or the writing, or both, or what combination it came up with. But I feel like it was Nicholson with like Joker face. You know, but so that's kind of how that stuff pans out for me. So Keaton wins mainly purely on, like, you know, the nostalgia. Toys I had as a kid. Nostalgia, exactly.
For me, I'm the exact opposite of Chris, which is not the popular answer. I think the reason I like Bale as Batman more than the rest is just because I like the movie series a little bit more, and it stands out to me more. I tried to watch the Keaton Batman recently. This is another unpopular statement. I'm not a huge Tim Burton fan to begin with. And the movie is very Tim Burton, and I mean, I like Beetlejuice. There's a couple here and there that I do like, but as a whole, I'm not a huge Burton fan, so I think that's why, for me, Keaton is the most overrated. I'm going to try to watch Returns again, because I've heard that as an adult, Returns is a lot better than, you know, remembered. But Val Kilmer, I have been saying that for years, wasn't a bad Batman, and people should give the guy credit. He did a good job with what he had, and I will watch Batman forever, any day of the week, because I'm a Jim Carrey fan. Granted, you know, he could have done that role a lot better. Tommy Lee Jones completely called that role in. Like, he was doing something else while they were filming it or whatever.
He was doing Nicholson. He was doing his best Nicholson impression.
That's right. And then I said it earlier, Ledger, even though Nicholson's one of my favorite actors, Ledger is my favorite Joker. So yeah, anybody have anything else to add?
I think we should absolutely do a review on the Batman animated series by itself.
Well, we can. We gotta find some time. Next week we're supposed to start our Marvel retrospective, but next week, you guys want to do Man of Steel real quick before we start Marvel, just because we just did this and it seems like a perfect transition.
I can do Man of Steel. Yeah, that's fine. I'm down for that.
Sure, you'll get about the same review from me, but fine.
And then we'll get into... Anyway, Yeah, for all of your gaming needs,
hold
go to
on.
GameIsland.com or GoGameIsland.com. They have toys,
And a
plushies,
picture.
video game accessories, systems, consoles, anything you need. GoGameIsland.com. Check them out in the Polaris Fashion Center. Open mall hours if you're local in Columbus. Max.
Jason, have we set up a meeting place for Comic Book Club in February?
We will have that announcement this week.
Okay, but we're doing it the 15th?
Yes. I am currently trying to find a perfect spot to do it because we want to build a stream so anybody out of state can be a part of it.
All right. Well, yeah. Just remember reading Walking Dead Volume 1 and Marvel Civil War. So please come out to that, or when we decide where it is, you can come out to that. But make sure you read the books and come on out and have a good time. It's a lot of fun.
There will be a door prize for it. We just don't know what it is yet. So anyway, my name is Jay, joined by Max, Phillip, Mike, Dan, and Chris. Y'all have a great day.